Well, hello everyone. Again, this is Jane Gravius. I'm the Director of Fellowship Programs at Eisenhower Fellowships. I'd like to welcome all of you to our first introductory webinar. The purpose of this webinar is really just designed to give you an overview of what to expect over the development, the planning part of the fellowship, as well as what might actually happen on the fellowship itself. This is part of a series of webinars. As you know, we have this first introductory webinar today. Then I've asked all of you to sign up for one of 3 smaller group webinars, what we call an EF Hangout. And this is a chance for you to try and get to know a few of the other fellows in your group, meet a fellow from a previous program who is there to answer questions and give you their perspective on how to prepare for the fellowship experience, how to really leverage this experience, maximize the contacts and the knowledge, how to work with your program officer, and get more into some of the nitty-gritty details. Then finally on March 20th, we'll have one last group, sort of for everyone webinar, kind of a pre-fellowship webinar. And there we'll start to talk really, really concretely about what's going to happen in opening seminar, different ways to manage your time, start to prepare sort of emotionally, psychologically for what is a kind of big and overwhelming experience. And there we'll get into some of the smaller details. But for today, I just want to kind of keep it big picture, keep it light, and just ask you to focus on a couple of sort of key commitments and a little bit of homework for you, as later this week I'm sure that your program officers will be reaching out to you, introducing themselves, introducing their team. You'll be working with a program officer and a program assistant or associate to really think about what it is you want to do on fellowship, why you're coming, and what is it, what's going to make for the best experience. So with that, I'm going to make some introductions. Now, I know we have some program staff downstairs. I'm going to ask, I think it's Romana who is manning the webcam down there. I wanted to introduce, we have a lot of staff on the webinar. We have all of our program officers from the international side. We have right now 5 program officers, a program associate, a program assistant, as well as a programs intern. There they all are, sitting on the 2nd floor. Thank you, everyone, and welcome. Can you guys go live, put your audio on, and maybe just say who you are?
It's on. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Romana Lee Akiyama, and I'm a program officer on the Global Programs team.
Hi, Kari Introduce, the Senior Program Officer. Welcome, everyone. We look forward to working with you in the months to come.
Kelly Johnson, Program Officer.
Jaya Madeline, new program intern.
Hi, I'm Lauren Zaman, the Program Associate. Welcome. Hi, I'm Joyce Ruji. I'm the Program Assistant.
There you are.
Officer.
Hi, Choma. Yeah, so you see we have a lot of people there. We have a great team, and I'm very proud to be working with them, and I know you're going to have a really productive time with all of them. They've all done this before, so their advice, their perspective is really key in helping you sort of manage your time and plan your time between now and the fellowship, as well during the fellowship travel itself. So thank you, everyone. I think we also have some network people. Colette, Diane, do you want to sort of show your faces and say hello?
Well, hi, everybody. This is... Oh, go on, Diane. You start.
No, go ahead, Colette. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Colette Seidel. I'm the Network Associate. I don't have the camera on this morning because I felt it was too early. But welcome, everybody, and I look forward to working with you throughout your program and afterwards, which is where we really step in.
And good morning, Global Fellows. This is Diane Shoemaker, Senior Director for the Global Fellows Network, and I apologize, but my camera is not working this morning. But I just want to echo Colette in saying that we are thrilled to have you with us as fellows. Greatly looking forward to meeting you here in Philadelphia in a couple of months. And our role on the network team is to connect you with the Global Fellows Network, and we'll be doing that actually getting started in another week or so to help you get to know some of the fellows before you start your journey, and then working with you to connect with fellows globally for the rest of your lives. So welcome, fellows, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Diane. I'm going to try and turn my webcam on. I'm a little dark. There I am. Hello, everyone. I thought I should show my face, but I'm the director. I've been here for a few years. I started as on the international program team as a program officer. I've also worked with our USA program, and I've been happy to be the director for the past year. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to turn myself off so I don't distract myself. So, whoops, let me get myself back going here. All right. So let's begin by talking a little bit about what we have in common. There's a lot of you. If you look here, this is you. This is the Global Fellows. You're 25 amazingly diverse people from all continents. The Global Program is the program that dates back to the founding of Eisenhower Fellowships in 1953, where you brought together the most diverse group of people you could find in terms of country, in terms of topic, and you brought them together in a way to see if they could make friendships, make bonds, as well as professional connections across borders without regard to all these differences that we have. And so this is really the greatest strength of Eisenhower Fellowship, is this amazing diversity of people. And while many people think this fellowship is this individualized, customized program, which is, yes, that's what the itinerary is, but it's really a group experience. It's something that you experience with 24 other people all the time. You may not always be in the same place at the same time, but you will always be in contact. And these relationships, the support, the feedback, the conversations, the fun that you have together are really what knits the fellowship program together and provides a real support that underlies the professional part of it, which is, yes, the meetings, the travel, the connections, and the conversations you have about your professional interest on fellows. But this is really the heart of who we are. But I think what unites all of us, you, the fellows, and we at Eisenhower Fellowship, is this commitment that we have to our mission. Our mission is to identify, empower, and connect leaders who are all committed to peace, justice, and prosperity. These are the ideals and the principles of Eisenhower Fellowships. And while you all may come from different sectors, some of you are from the private sector, some from the public, from government agencies, some of you are working for NGOs and nonprofits that are focused on social welfare. Some of you are really business related. Some are more in education and health. There's a few of you who are really focused on technology, artificial intelligence. But what you all share is taking these skills and taking these knowledge and applying it for a greater good, right? We're trying to all make the world better in our own niche and in our own way. But this isn't really about our own self-interest. It's about creating something that is bigger than the rest of us and that is sustainable in the long term. This picture that we're looking at is actually, it's a mural that is the Eisenhower Fellowships mural. You will see it on the wall near your hotel in Philadelphia. Actually, when you exit your hotel every morning, if you go and look to the left, you will see this mural, and it's called the Tree of Knowledge. It has, as you can see, various instruments or artifacts, things that help you create knowledge and generate and share knowledge, and it's sort of what represents us. And it's our image here in Philadelphia, and now it's going to be yours. So moving forward, let's look at what we are doing or what you're going to be doing over 7 weeks of fellowship. When you actually arrive on April 3rd, we're going to have 1 day of orientation. This is just for you to really get to meet your program officer, get to meet the staff here at Eisenhower Fellowships. There's a bit of housekeeping, finances, and so forth that we have to deal with, but it's really just a day for you to ease into things and figure out who we are, what's happening, and how you're going to kind of organize yourself, some of the logistics and bureaucracy. And then we're going to have a great 3-day opening seminar. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week. We have a lot of different activities that are designed to get you guys talking to each other, sharing who you are, focusing on different skills, and exposing you to some ideas. We'll have some speakers, we'll have some panels, and we'll have some fun. We'll have some dinners, and there will be time to relax. Not a lot. It's a pretty intense week, but it's a great sort of kickoff to the experience. Then you have 5 weeks of individual and group experiences. You'll be networking with other fellows in our USA network. We have nearly 300 fellows all over the country. We have some really great trustees and sponsors who would love to chat with you, share knowledge, share contacts, in addition to your daily 2 to 3 meetings per day or site visits, whatever you and your program officer sort of create together. You will have time to rest and reflect. We have kind of like a working retreat at the midpoint, a long weekend in Sedona, Arizona. And then after a couple extra weeks of additional weeks of travel on fellowship, we all reconvene once more for a closing seminar in Philadelphia that is capped off by our annual day, where our trustees, we have the annual Board of Trustees meeting. Our chairman of the board, General Colin Powell, comes in and does a little roundtable with fellows and friends of EF, and really a wonderful event. So let's talk a little bit more about each of these different pieces and how they sort of build and contribute to your fellowship experience. So opening seminar, like I said, is the point at which we kind of introduce you to what's happening. You have several daytime sessions focused on getting to know the USA Fellows. We have 10 USA Fellows who will be joining you, the 25 Global Fellows, for these 3 days, and this is going to be great. So you'll have activities like, we have sort of workshops where you'll talk about your fellowship objectives. You'll be speaking a lot about your fellowship project or initiative, the purpose of your fellowship, what you hope to achieve and advance through this experience. We have some sessions on storytelling that help you figure out ways to communicate effectively with different audiences. And then, like I said, we have some evening events with our trustees, our local fellows here in Philadelphia, with some scholars. We're going to probably invite a well-known journalist to come and speak to us about current events. We've often had former President Eisenhower's grandson, David Eisenhower, come and speak to us about the political process. We're going to invite him as well. We'll have a dinner. So there's just a lot going on, a lot to sort of get you focused on the fellowship, on the substance of the fellowship, and thinking immediately from the get-go about your impact as a leader and how you're going to sort of use the fellowship to advance that goal, and as well give you opportunities just to really get to know each other. As Diane said, and as we'll continually reiterate, this is a lifelong fellowship. The fellows you meet now will probably be the ones that become sort of the ones you're closest to, but there's a whole network of nearly 1,500 active fellows all over the world to whom you now have sort of a very easy intro and an entree, and so that's another thing we want to talk about. These are the 10 USA Fellows that will sort of become part of your global cohort. They are 10 leaders from all over the country. They're incredibly diverse, and some of them have the same interest as you, and I think you're going to find that interactions with them are just as meaningful as the interactions with the Global Fellows. We have people who are interested in healthcare and informatics. We have people interested in education, STEM, farming and agriculture, diplomacy, energy, immigration, and work with refugees and migrants. We have someone working with veterans, military veterans, and disabled people transitioning back into the workforce. We have someone who's a filmmaker interested in virtual reality. And they're going to be traveling all throughout 2017 to some of your home countries. So you might meet them here and you might see them later at home. They're going to Kenya, Singapore, Germany, Korea, Peru, I'm trying to think, South Africa, Australia, Chile, Colombia. So they're going to be coming to a town near you, and I hope that you'll show them the same hospitality that I know our USA Fellows are going to show you. So once we complete opening seminar, we really sort of kick you out of the nest, and you're on your own in a way. Of course, you still have your online itinerary. You have a telephone, a smartphone that we give you that has an app. So you're always tethered to us. You always have access 24/7 to your itinerary through our database that's updated by our program staff constantly. But you go out there and you have your own schedule of meetings and site visits. Some of them are group meetings. As you can see here, sometimes they're one-on-one based on your specialty and your particular interest in that organization or individual. And sometimes, as you'll see, many of you have shared interests. And so you might have a small group meeting. If you look on the right-hand side, that's a group of fellows going to the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City, Kansas, which is one of their premier foundations focused on research around entrepreneurship and small business and all of that. So there's always a group of people they host for half a day with their team that's very, very fruitful. And this is really going to be the core of your fellowship and what you're going to work a lot now between now and April 3rd with your program officer to define what are your priorities. And you're going to have to be very responsive and really think hard about what it is you want to achieve, who you want to meet. Take those ideal goals, those lofty objectives, and translate them into concrete conversations and interactions where you can share knowledge and have meaningful, mutually productive conversations with people here in the United States. The mid-program retreat in Sedona is also a very important part of the fellowship. Some people ask, well, why are we taking time off? I want to keep having meetings. I want to keep going, but nobody can go forever. We all have to take a break. So this is a 3-day weekend. It's really special. Again, this is a tradition that dates back decades where you go to Arizona. The Red Rocks are beautiful there, and you reconvene with the entire group of fellows because you'll have seen each other, a couple here, a couple there, but you won't have seen the whole group. And so you want to get back together and rest, do your laundry, just be somewhere for a few days in peace. We usually do a day trip to the Grand Canyon, so for hikers, this is a great time just to get out into nature with some friends, have some nice time. But we also have, as I said this at the beginning, this is a working retreat. There's going to be some structured sessions guided by a couple EF staff members to help you make sense of this sort of chaos and amazing download of ideas and contacts that have been put into your brain. It's kind of overwhelming. It's this constant stimulation is the fellowship. So this is an opportunity at the midpoint of the program to take a breath and say, what happened? What have I learned? What are the gaps in knowledge that I filled? What do I have yet to do? Has my project conception changed in any way? Have I identified some new challenges, solved some, redesigned it in some way? So our EF staff will be there to sort of take you through a couple exercises, have you work with each other, provide feedback to each other on what's happening, and sort of hit the pause moment before you head into the second half of fellowship. Because if there's one thing that we do know is that fellowship goes very fast. It seems like a long time away from home, a long time away from work, but it's not actually. It goes by in a heartbeat. So taking moments like this to sort of reflect and organize your thoughts are very important. After your last 2 or 2.5 weeks of fellowship travel, you return back to Philadelphia. The spring is really a special time for closing seminar. You'll reconvene again with the group. We'll have some sessions with you designed to help you, again, collate your thoughts, organize it. You'll be writing a 4 to 6 page project report. We'll talk more about that in the pre-fellowship webinar in March. You'll have time to sort of assess, provide a little mini evaluation of your fellowship meetings to program staff to help us constantly improve our work here. And you'll have an opportunity to connect with some of our USA fellows from 2016. In the spring, this is when everyone comes from the USA program and from our Spring Global program to meet with our chairman, get their fellowship pin, and have a mini reunion. So there's a chance to meet additional fellows in our network. Again, it's a very busy week. There's a lot of different activities for you, activities that are public with our chairman, and all of this ends on the Thursday with a really wonderful annual awards dinner where we honor each year a distinguished fellow for their service to Eisenhower Fellowships and the broader community. We usually honor an external organization by giving them the Eisenhower Medal for Leadership and Service. Last year we honored Doctors Without Borders. This year we haven't yet decided, but you will soon know. And you have a chance to meet and greet with our chairman, Colin Powell. So again, it's a pretty intense experience, but that's the overview, more or less. And once you complete the fellowship, as Diane mentioned, you're now a lifetime member of a global network. Here are some pictures from our spring program last year, from our Africa program, from previous years, and it's really, the word fellowship can't be underemphasized. This sense of purpose and this sense of unity is really big. As you can see, I put at the bottom some of our social media. Please join our Facebook. We have a private group for the 2017 Global Fellows. That's just for us to get to share some things with you, share some pictures, share some news, and talk privately about what's going on with us as a group. But we also have a Facebook page that Colette, Diane, and their team really work hard to share all the news of all of our fellows in the network. There's just, as you can imagine, with so many people, there's always something happening. If you're a Twitter fan, we have our hashtag EFJourney. Please use that while you're on fellowship or tweeting something relevant or about your fellowship project or your fellowship interests. And you can always find us at our handle at @EF_fellow. So please follow us and join us online. We also have a LinkedIn group, so please join us there as well. We share a lot of news. Diane and Colette, would you like to talk a little bit about some of our network activities? We have a number of things planned for this year. We have a conference, but perhaps you guys would like to talk about your constant initiatives, EF Day and so forth. So I'll hand the mic over to you for a couple minutes.
Okay, this is Diane. Thank you, Jane. So coming up this year, we have a global conference, and the global conferences happen probably every other year. And this September in Malaga, Spain, we're organizing a Future of Work conference with the fellows from Spain and Jordan taking the lead on this. And as is typical of all Eisenhower conferences, all fellows are invited. But as this comes after your fellowship period, you're invited, but it would be at your expense. And we'll be telling you more about it well, while you're on fellowship, but it looks to be a terrific event with a lot of fellows around the globe planning to attend. And a couple of the smaller conferences, regional conferences coming up. We have one for South Asia, which actually takes place next month in Dubai. So this is organized and hosted by our fellows from India and Pakistan, and also fellows from Sri Lanka are heavily involved in the organizing of it. And even though it's a regional conference, South Asia Rising, and focusing on the region of South Asia, it is a conference open to all. And another regional conference coming up this spring in April in Latin America, in Chile, in Santiago. Our Chilean fellows for the first time are hosting this Latin America regional event. I think this will be now the third Latin America regional conference. There was one 2 years ago in Peru, and prior to that in Argentina. So now some of the fellows have started rotating these regional events around the countries, and you'll be hearing more about that as well. And typically we will see a lot of events happening in the fall, the September through November period. Many of the Eisenhower chapters, and there's 44 chapters around the world, they organize what we call an Eisenhower Day of Fellowship. That is to honor both President Eisenhower and Eisenhower Fellowships. President Eisenhower's birthday, October the 14th, is the same day that Eisenhower Fellowships was founded back in 1953. So it's a call to action, really, to fellows around the globe to come together to recognize their fellowship and commemorate that special day. And fellows do it in a lot of different ways. Organizing conferences and seminars is a very common way. Some different initiatives have included reaching out to the youth. Our fellows in Sri Lanka have for many years organized a youth leadership essay contest, and doing this nationally and asking middle school and high school students to compete on typically themes of leadership in the presidency. So lots of different things that fellows do.
Thank you. That's great, Diane. That's a great overview, I think, of all the stuff that happens. Colette, can you just talk really quickly about our social media channels? You're collecting news, you're constantly sharing. What else is happening?
Social media is, as everybody's probably aware by now, the main way that we get all of our information out there. We have as Jane said, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, LinkedIn, and we try and be as active as we can on it, just by letting you know what's going on and following you guys, and you follow us. It's a beautiful thing. We really encourage you to tell us what you are doing in your life. We have Google alerts on as many as you as we can, but if you're doing something exciting, don't wait for us to find out. Tell us, and then we can share with the network and the world. It's an exciting time to be working in social media, and you guys do such cool stuff, which is why you were selected for fellowship, and we want to tell everybody about it. So sooner or later you'll get invitations from us to encourage you to join our Facebook pages, like our Facebook pages, and so on. But like I say, don't wait for us. Tell us. There's a great expression in English, I'm sure you're familiar, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So the more we know about you, the more we can tell everybody about what you're doing.
Right. I think Colette makes a great point that humility between us, we're family. You don't need to be humble
Yeah.
among us, right? I mean, it's okay. You can brag a little, and it's a great way
we know
to
you're great.
Right. We already think you're great. So just share with us your news, and that helps us make connections. Because if you're doing something great in education, we may know of 2 or 3 other fellows doing something similar, and there may be ways to share, expand, and broaden your impact. So it's really about figuring out ways to enhance our impact and our footprint upon the world in a really positive way. All right, so let's move on. So now that we've sort of provided the overview and given you the spiel about EF and what's happening on fellowship, what are you supposed to be doing, right? Because this is a shared experience, and you really bear 50% of the burden for the success of your program. Your program officers, as I said, are amazing, wonderful, experienced people, but they need you. They need your information, they need your feedback, they need you to really use they need whatever's in your brain. And so working to get out what's in your brain onto paper and translating that into meetings is really critical, and it's hard work. It takes time, it takes a lot of conversations, and it takes a lot of back and forth. So the first step, I really want you all to sign up for one of these 3 informational webinars that we're having, hosted or co-hosted by a program officer and a network fellow. We have Kari on Monday, February 6th, Choma on Monday, February 13th, and Kelly on Tuesday, February 21st. We will record them, so if you can't make them, you can listen, but it's really nice to have you live to ask questions, live to interact. This cannot be, the fellowship is not a passive experience. It is an active experience, and it requires you to always be engaged. I know it's hard. You've got your full-time jobs, families, etc. You're on the other side of the world, but the more involved you are from the start, the more amazing and the more you're going to get out of this experience. So the investment really pays off. And then back, as I said, in March, we'll have another pre-fellowship webinar where we'll get into some nitty-gritty details that I don't want to sort of overwhelm you with now. Because what is it that you should be doing? The main commitment that you came into fellowship with, it was all in your application. Some of it was more concrete, some of it was broad, some of it was specific, but you all had a kind of project or initiative that you proposed. And this is what I want you to really think about and focus on with your program team. This project is really a concrete initiative or set of initiatives to enhance your professional impact, and it's something that you will pledge to implement post-fellowship. Now, it could be something brand new, a new education program for underserved youth in your community. It could be building on something that's already underway in your organization, but yet you want to broaden the scope. You already have an after-school program, but you want to add the health component. You want to add something for parenting. You want to broaden it. You want to increase it, increase the scope in some way. So your fellowship objectives may be broader than this project. We understand the project is going to have to be fairly specific and somewhat narrow because it has to be realistic. It has to be something achievable. It can't just be, oh, I want to create world peace. No, it's got to be something that we can all relate to, that you can sort of tie objectives and outcomes and inputs and outputs, right? And it's something that you can really do in the short to medium term future within your organization or outside of your organization, trying to get the resources and get the stakeholders involved. So this is what your program team is really going to be talking to you a lot in the beginning, saying, who are you? What do you want to do? What is the impact you want to leave on the world? Where are you headed? And now what are the steps that you're going to need to get there? And then you say, well, what's my fellowship going to be? Well, okay, what knowledge do I need? What contacts do I need? What do I need is there gaps in my knowledge? Really, you're trying to seek to fill gaps in knowledge, gaps things that you know, things that you don't know, and the sort of famous quote from someone is, you know, what is it that you don't know, right? These are the things your PO is going to help you piece out. So I want you to really, this is where your head should be, is what's my project? What am I going to do? What are my big objectives? And within that, what's my project or initiative? So here are two examples. I'm going to ask two of our program officers just take a minute to talk about what a project could be. So first we have Nuru Mugambi from Kenya. These are two fellows from our most recent program in the fall, Africa. Kari, could you just take 1 minute or a minute and a half to talk about what Nuru's doing and who she is?
Yes, absolutely. So Nuru is the Sustainable Finance Director with the Kenyan Bankers Association. She came into her fellowship with this small business development loan fund concept in mind, and the progress that we followed was initially for her to frame the issue. So she came up with a title, Changing Finance and Financing Change. And that really helped inform how we thought about developing her project. She then articulated some core beliefs and underpinning ideas about catalyzing systemic change through the banking industry. And then from there, we built on her list of initially identified meetings in her application that would be targeted to accomplishing that, or advancing her thinking and understanding around that project. A number of ideas were fleshed out that she already had, and then some new ideas were added. So incorporating impact investing, private equity, angel investing, and philanthropists, those are all kind of new concepts that we were able to develop during her fellowship. She also articulated a secondary project, which is tying in with Changing Finance and Financing Change, with changing the face of finance and adding a gender equity component to the executive leadership within the banking industry. As she finalized the travel portion of her fellowship and wrote her fellowship report, she included in that a time frame, a 5-year timeline, and then for this first year post-fellowship, articulated quarterly goals toward advancing this project that included developing a platform for the loan fund, working with some partners that she had identified while on fellowship, expanding it to a Pan-Africa focus, and building in an assessment and evaluation component. So she is very goal-oriented and is already moving towards her first quarter objective of fellowship.
Great, thank you, Kari. Yeah, that Neuro is really wonderful. All right, now Romana, could you talk a little bit about Yawa and her work with girls?
Yes, absolutely. Yawa Hanson-Kwao is a fellow that I had the opportunity to work with this past fall. She was one of the 25 African fellows. She's from Accra, Ghana, and she's the executive director of the Leading Ladies Network. It's a leadership development organization that works with women and young girls in both the business sector as well as the political space. And she came in with a very clear focus on what she wanted to accomplish as part of her project. She had both a personal and professional stake in her project, and I think that's why she is going to be very successful, because it tapped into her personal passion and it also was really well connected with what she was trying to accomplish as far as her organization's growth. So her project was focused on supporting young girls, high school-aged girls, young women, high school-aged girls to be prepared to run for student government. So this was based on some research that she had done, data that she gathered while she was here in the U.S., that 56% of all congressional representatives right now who are women actually got their start in politics in student government. And so she's running with that theory that if she invests early on for these young women, that they are going to be feeling more comfortable to be able to run for political office at later points in their careers and their lives. So while she was here in the U.S., she met with organizations that were running very similar programs She was able to see best practices and what was working and how she could adapt these practices for when she went home to Ghana. She also developed partnerships that are going to help her. So when she goes home, she can draw on existing curriculum or existing trainers and existing organizations that are going to be able to really invest in what she's trying to build. And so she's leveraging the connections that she made while she was on fellowship.
Great. Thank you, Romana. So just to let everyone know, of course, what we're talking about is the end product, right? This was several months of work with the program officer. This was going on fellowship. This was, a lot of deep thought, reflection with the other fellows, all of these little workshops and activities. This is the result, and this is what we would hope all of you could aim toward. Of course, right now we know you're not there, but this is our goal. This is what we're trying to do, is something that really makes a difference in people's lives, right? It's more important now than ever to really be focused on doing something, on the action, and on the quality of the result. So these are two great examples from our most recent program. So this last slide here is really just to remind you of some of the questions that I posed in my initial email to you, right? What's your purpose as a leader? What's the purpose of your fellowship? You have to revisit these questions periodically. What you may have said in your application, that was almost a year ago. So go back and rethink, what's happening here. It's okay if it changed a little bit. What you said in your application, you are welcome to modify, because things may have happened, you may have learned new things that may change slightly to the direction of what you want to do. That's okay, but let's make sure that we all agree on what that is, and that's clearly articulated. And what's your fellowship project or initiative? To the extent possible, really try and define what you're going to do. And know that, again, this can change, this can be modified. You never know what's going to happen to you on fellowship. Fellowship can be in many ways as much as we try to sort of plan it out and structure it in advance, we still do leave places open for sort of the organic nature of relationships you may develop with fellows or other people that you meet on fellowship. You're going to meet a lot of people who are going to say, hey, you should meet this person, you should go to this place, and we will try and accommodate that and try and build in a little flexibility. We can't change everything on a dime, but yes, it's there. So we are open-minded, just as you should be. And again, what do you know and what don't you know or think you don't know about how you're going to make your project a reality? It can't just be a pipe dream. And then, of course, translating that into something concrete, the people, organizations, the places you want to visit. And I encourage you, I sort of right at the bottom, approach your fellowship with an open mind to some new experiences. A lot of people who are interested in technology and startups and entrepreneurship, oh, I want to spend 2 weeks in Silicon Valley. Well, no, that doesn't serve the purpose. You can spend a week, 7 days, 7 working days there, but try and find some other ecosystems that may be smaller, that may be a closer model to where you are currently in your project and in your own personal ecosystem and your professional ecosystem. So I encourage you to try and reach and visit new cities, places that maybe are kind of off the radar for you, but it's really the quality of the relationships and the connections that you're making that will have the greatest value, and you just don't know where you're going to find them. So try not to be too narrow and too literal-minded. I encourage you to sort of take a risk, experiment a little. This is a big country, and there's a lot to do, and there's a lot outside of those big hubs. Some places will be on everyone's itinerary: DC, Boston, New York, probably San Francisco, but aside from those places, where else? There's a lot happening here in different ways. And what is the impact that we're thinking about at EF? What are our program teams trying to do for you? Well, we're trying to think about your impact as a leader. We're going to try to encourage you to really think hard about, how do you think about yourself? How do you talk about yourself? How do you carry yourself? And what is your story or your stories? What's behind your fellowship and your leadership trajectory? So we're going to be piecing that out. We're also going to be looking at making sure the fellowship, the itinerary, and all of our conversations have a real impact on your professional goals, encouraging you to think bigger, think about real-world impact, and to be concrete and focused on how you're going to reach your goals. Create a series of steps that you can achieve. And then we're going to have a real focus on the impact on your project and initiative, getting it to the point where you know what you need to do to make it a reality. You have a sense of the time frame and the general plan for getting there. And know that you're never alone. Your project is not just about you. You have, as I said, 24 other people. We're going to have a lot of ideas. We're going to have a lot of connections, and we're also here to support you before fellowship, during fellowship, and beyond through our network office. So that's it. I don't want to talk anymore. We've been talking a lot. I'm going to open it up to questions. And if anyone has questions about what we've talked about, please pipe in. Just unmute yourself. I was going to maybe start it to take some pressure off and ask perhaps a couple of our program staff to provide some advice at this point. Perhaps Choma, a couple of people who haven't spoken, Choma or Kelly. Do you want to give one or two pieces of advice that you think would be nice for fellows to hear and help guide them as they begin to work with you?
One thing that I would like to share with you all, and again, it's early, so it will be kind of hard to keep it in context, but just try to remember, you're going to be, like as Jane mentioned, you're going to be getting a lot of information constantly while you're on fellowship, and it will be really challenging to try to distill it and, you know, keep it all in one place. So I encourage you, if you don't already do this professionally or personally, I encourage you to keep journals. Keep journal, whether you do it on a daily basis or maybe on a weekly basis, where you can kind of summarize, you know, your experiences, not just meetings, but some of the social events that you may do, folks that you may meet, because at the end of the fellowship, we're going to come back and ask you, tell us about it, and what were things that were good, what were things that could have been better, and at that point, you know, you're going to be so overwhelmed with everything that you learned and all the folks that you met. But if you have a journal that you can kind of go back and look at what you were thinking about and things that stood out to you, it might be a little bit easier to recall some of those experiences. And it's just a good way to kind of document and chart the fellowship. So I encourage you to try to keep a journal. And maybe you can even start doing that now, you know, when you go through this webinar process. So that's just one little piece of advice.
That's great, Choma. Yeah, I like the idea of starting it now because that'll help you sort of gauge where you started, where you ended, and get a sense of this trajectory. That's really great. Kelly, did you have a thought? And then I'll throw it out to Michelle.
I actually have a couple thoughts based on what things that I would recommend based on experience of what fellows start doing in the next week or so once you start working with your program officer. The first is to engage your own network. You tell people you know in your professional contacts about this amazing opportunity in fellowship and what your objectives and project are. Get their ideas of who you should be reaching out to in the United States, because that will probably open some doors for contacts that would be really valuable to your fellowship. And if the time to do it is soon, because if you wait until you're ready to travel or in the U.S., it may be too late. And my second piece of advice was, when you start working with your program officer, really focus on what you want to learn, not necessarily on who you want to meet with. Your program officer may have other suggestions where you can learn the same information in someone who may have more time or a different perspective on who you initially thought should be the person to see. And then I guess my last bit is a public service announcement that you should have all received an email inviting you to our secret Facebook group. And I think maybe about a third to half of you have joined, so we would love to get as many of the group as possible engaged in that, so you have a chance to talk to each other in a secret environment that's really, it's just EF staff, program staff, and you.
Absolutely. Please share stuff about what you're doing. Get used to it. Get into the practice. All right, so I'm just going to open it out. If someone wants to hop on and ask a question at this time, we're here and ready to talk. Just introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Subra.
Hello.
From Sri Lanka. Hi, how are you guys?
Great. Go ahead, Subra.
Well, it's a bit of an obvious question, really, but just any other advice on how we can research about the people that we might want to meet? Is it possible to talk to any other fellows or who have done,
sure.
These same?
Yeah, sure. Let me give you a brief overview. So the program officers, we have each of you has a little programs team, right? You have your program officer, who's kind of your primary point of contact and working with you really on the substantive pieces and helping sort of create a research strategy. And they're assisted with Joyce or Lauren. I think you've communicated with them, our program assistant and program associate, and they're there as well to conduct additional research and talk with you about what it is you want. I mean, at this time, I think you can do some research. You can sort of put some feelers out, as Kelly said, in your network. But your program staff will be they'll be reaching out to you right after this webinar. So I suggest you set up a call as soon as possible with your program staff team and figure out what's going to be the division of labor right now. They're going to have a lot of ideas, and often what we do is we have them sort of put together a bit of a research proposal for you, and they share that with you, and then you provide some response. And that's a way to sort of get your juices, you know, the brain ideas going. But by all means, if there's any particular areas in which you're seeking research, just tell them. Say, I'm not sure about this CSR idea or this, I don't know, sustainable agriculture or branding stuff that I have questions about. Just let them know what direction you want, and they'll get started immediately and start feeding you ideas. And then you can prioritize, say, okay, this looks great, but I want more of X and not as much of Y. So I think that's one way to begin. Yeah, and so what's going to happen is over the next 6 to 8 weeks, this is really the piece of time where you're going to talk a lot to the program team, have a lot of calls. What do you want to do? What do you think of this research in San Francisco? Did you like that organization in Boston? There's going to be a lot of back and forth. You just sharing ideas and opinions. So that's why it's important you're engaged now. It seems like it's far out, but really we have to start strategizing and planning now so that come March, program staff can start reaching out to the people in question to get on their calendars. So that's what I would advise now, is just really engage with your program team, share ideas, keep that journal, jot down every thought that pops into your head, and share it on the phone.
Hello. Hi, this is Anita from Malaysia.
Hi.
If I can ask my question now. Hi. I have 2 questions. So I have been reaching out to some of my contacts, but some of the questions that they've been asking is at what level of seniority would we be able to meet when we make the appointments? That's my first question. And then the second question is our engagement with whatever it is that we want to learn limited to just meetings, or can we get involved in some activities that might take 1 or 2 days? For example, I reached out to somebody who's an affiliate to Feeding America, and because they do community-based programs, she asked me whether I would be interested to follow their day-to-day operations rather than just meet some people. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, those are great questions. Thank you for raising them. First, level of seniority. I think you should seek the level of seniority that is appropriate. You know, sometimes people want to meet with CEOs, and sometimes it's not appropriate because the CEO doesn't really understand those day-to-day operations, which may be what you're more interested in. So think about what it is you want to get out of the meeting, what is the substance, the kind of conversation you want, and then think about the level of seniority. So if you're looking more for like a strategy or a broader vision, or looking at partnerships, you know, at a big level, as some of you are, then maybe you want a higher level of seniority, because that's the kind of person who can answer those questions and have that conversation. But if you're looking for someone who's really in the implementation, and you need to understand the perspective of someone on the ground, you know, what their needs are, so that then you can design a sort of network of larger support and design an organizational structure, well then you want a lower seniority, because that's who matters. So it's all about who matters to the meeting and the interaction, and then that drives the seniority level. Okay, so it's always a matching issue, right? So don't always think about, oh, I need to get the top guy, because no, that's not always going to be the most valuable for you. Okay, your second question, another great one. Absolutely, you can have different experiences. Immerse yourself for 2 days and watch how the team works. That's a great idea, Anita. Go and have a site visit. Sometimes people have done, we had someone a few years ago, Kelly programmed this guy from Paraguay who was interested in like creating like, I don't know, some sort of sustainable tourism in national parks. So he went to a national park and went hiking for 2 days with somebody, you know, just to immerse himself. There's what's what I'm saying about being open, like ask, like don't be afraid to ask, can I try this? Can I do that? Not everything's possible, right? But it's worth asking. You know, do you think you could ask if this organization would allow me to sit in on some strategy meetings? Do you think I could go and spend 2 days visiting this Native American reservation to see how they live, or whatever it is? I like that idea of immersion. If you can try and fit it in, if it's appropriate, great. Absolutely.
Great, thank you very much.
Not just about meetings, because you will get bored of meetings. Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Hi again. Hi everyone. I'm Dolorosa Duncan from Tanzania.
Hello.
I also have two questions. One of them is, when are we going to be attached to our program officers? And the second question was, during the presentation, I'm not so sure if I missed it, but I did not see any webinar for today. And I saw, when I joined it, there was another option for 10 p.m. tonight. Actually, it's tonight here in Tanzania. So,
regarding your second, Dolorosa, regarding your second question, I'm not sure what that is. There was we were supposed to have this webinar 1 week ago, and we had a problem with our email mailing distribution lists, and so I thought I had invited you last week, but apparently I did not. So we rescheduled it for today. The next webinar is the individual small group webinars. This is the schedule. So the next one is Monday, February 6th at 2 p.m., hosted by Kari and maybe Nuru or another fellow. So that link there, please click on it and sign up. We were capping the participation in these small group webinars around 9 people, just to keep it more reasonable, so everyone, if they had an important question, would have more of an opportunity to ask. So these are going to be much more interactive and come with questions, come with concerns, and you'll have the opportunity to ask a very recent fellow, like, what was the experience like? Regarding your first question about the program officer, immediately, they should feel free to, they all know who's working with whom right now, so they will reach out to you in the next 24 hours. You'll have an email, I'm sure, introducing and requesting a phone call or a Skype. Does that answer your question?
Actually, I was asking about the small group webinars because I joined something like on the 23rd night. So
there is no other webinar. This is the only webinar today. All of the others are on those dates you see on the screen.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
No, thank you, Dolorosa. I appreciate you clearing it up. Any other questions? All right, if there are no other questions, which is totally fine, it's a lot of information, and you, like I said, you're going to be in touch with your program officer and your program team, Kari and Lauren or Joyce and Kelly, and you can ask any questions then. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. I want to say, again, congratulations, welcome. This is going to be a wonderful experience, and I'm really thrilled that we're able to offer this to you and wish you all the best as you begin the hard work. It is work, but it's fun work, and it's, this is really a great time to just kind of let your imaginations run a little wild with the possibilities of what you can try and do with this fellowship, on fellowship, and through fellowship. And know that you have a team here dedicated to trying to make as much of that happen as possible. I know your program officers will be reining you in, making sure that you stay grounded, your feet are on the ground, and it's realistic, but we're really so excited for you, so excited to meet you in April, and look forward to all of the good times and the memories together. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time on these small group webinars and back again in March. Have a great day, evening, night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.